report.
We have some special invited guests tonight. We're not pinning badges on them or adding stripes to their shoulder, but they're in fact guests here from Omaha-based Tenaska. Tenaska is a company that has an option to purchase an approximately 9-acre site at the Woodland Industrial Park for development of a battery energy storage facility. A number of folks in the audience were here earlier tonight for an informal posted public meeting, public information session on their proposal. Those are some of the boards that you see here. We do have, I believe Jared Pitts is a spokesperson for the group. I'm going to allow him to introduce his team and Tenaska and the project. Just for a little background, and this will be repeated, this is not up for official council action tonight. This is really an introduction of the project to the community. The matter of a conditional use permit, conditional use zoning permit for the site, which is in the Woodland Industrial Park in the I-1 zoning district, where private utilities are identified as a conditional use, will be up in front of the Plan Commission for their recommendation next Monday, the 12th. I anticipate it'll be back to the council and at the meeting of the 19th to set a public hearing for March. So more details on that later, but this is a very exciting, very interesting proposal. I'm just going to transfer my laptop to the podium over here, and Jared will take it away. We also have listed after the presentation specifically the opportunity for questions and answers from the council. Was intended just for that. There will be opportunity, of course, in the future when the council does a public hearing for questions, answers from the general public.
All right, thank you, Greg, and good evening, members of the council. It's a pleasure to be with you here this evening. My name is Jared Pitts. I'm a director of project development for Tenaska, and I'd also like to quickly have Tenaska folks in attendance here this night. Please stand, because I'm joined by a fantastic team here that is in attendance this evening. So thank you all, and yeah, please, feel free to stop by and talk to the team here. But first, wanted to thank you for this opportunity tonight to present to you. I also thank you for allowing us to have an open house here before your meeting this evening. It was great to meet many of you and many of the members of the public. We really appreciate everyone coming out tonight and for all the great questions and great interaction. Right, so tonight I wanted to hit on 4 key topics. One, I wanted to share a little bit about Tenaska. Second, I wanted to describe the benefits of battery projects like this. Third, I'd like to share a little bit more detail around the technology behind this project. And then lastly, provide a project overview. So that's what we'll hit on, and then would love some questions at the end if you would like. All right, so about Tenaska. Tenaska is headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska. Tenaska has 35 years of experience in the energy industry and are consistently ranked as one of the largest privately held companies in the United States. We've recently been named one of the U.S. best managed companies by Deloitte and also by the Wall Street Journal. And we've developed over 22,000 megawatts of generation, which represents over $20 billion of investment. And projects that we've developed have consistently been recognized and awarded for safety in the industry. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the project benefits. First, I want to emphasize that there is a strong need for technologies like batteries that deliver firm, dispatchable power. The role of batteries on the system is demonstrated in this energy demand chart on this slide. During times of peak energy generation, such as when power from solar or wind is in abundance, batteries can be charged to capture that excess generation. That's shown in the green area within the chart. And then batteries can then discharge the stored generation onto the grid during periods of peak demand, and that's shown in the red area. So why batteries now? As you know, many markets, including the power markets, are driven by supply and demand. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in our industry from a supply and a demand perspective. First, with respect to demand, we continue to see increased electric demand. This is driven by population growth, growth in electric vehicles, extreme heat in the summer months, as well as extreme cold in winter months increases electric demand, and overall economic development. On the supply side, we continue to see aging transmission infrastructure, as well as retiring generating facilities, which reduces supply on the system. And lastly, we're seeing increased levels of clean energy, in particular wind and solar, which are intermittent energy resources that can greatly benefit from battery projects like this. And so we see battery projects like this fulfilling two needs. One, they help step into this supply gap that's being created by increased demand and reduced supply by bringing on reliable, low-cost resources. And secondly, batteries can help integrate additional renewable energy onto the grid by helping mitigate some of the intermittent nature of solar and wind. And these benefits have recently been demonstrated by a real-world success story in Texas. And so I wanted to highlight a recent article that came out based on a recent cold weather event that hit Texas earlier this year. And the article essentially highlights that in Texas, which is one of the leading states and markets in the US in terms of installing battery energy storage projects like this, that batteries provided approximately 1,200 megawatts of backup power that helped prevent cascading blackouts in the market. And I also wanted to highlight a quote by Pablo Vegas, who's the CEO of ERCOT. ERCOT is the organization that's responsible for grid reliability in Texas. And he says, quote, "We're seeing batteries growing very rapidly on the electric grid. We're seeing that every year the additions of those resources, and they're making a big difference during the summers as well as the winters." So what is a battery energy storage system? Essentially, it's a system of batteries that's connected to the power grid that charges batteries when there's excess energy on the system and discharges that when power is needed most. This is a picture of a real operating battery facility, and I wanted to point out a few of the key equipment features shown in this picture. First off, the white infrastructure is the battery enclosures, and I'll talk about those in a little bit more detail on a subsequent slide. But that's where the batteries are housed, and that's kind of the core technology and equipment behind a battery energy storage facility. Additionally, there's electrical equipment, which is shown within the gray facilities here. Those are inverters, transformers, and control panels that essentially control the voltage and current that comes in and out of the battery enclosures. Additionally, in the back of this picture, you'll see a substation. So the project will have a substation that allows us to interconnect with the transmission grid. And then lastly, I'd highlight that there's a perimeter fence for security around the project, as well as access roads along the perimeter and throughout that allow for the equipment to be easily accessed and available for routine maintenance and inspections. So based on this technology, based on the design, we view battery energy storage projects as very low impact projects. They have a small footprint, they have no emissions, they have minimal visual impacts, there's no traffic during operations, and they have minimal sound. This is an example of a battery enclosure, which represents cutting-edge technology. Each purpose-built enclosure is approximately 10 feet high, 9 feet wide, and approximately 30 feet long, though this can vary based on manufacturer. The enclosure contains battery cells and modules arranged on racks. Those are represented by each kind of gray rectangular module that you see in the picture here. And additionally, there are various operational and safety features built into a battery enclosure. We have a battery management system which will control operations and can automatically shut the system down. There will be monitoring components which can identify any signs of malfunction. There will be around-the-clock remote monitoring from operations teams and from the system manufacturer. And there will be an HVAC system that will maintain optimal operating temperature of the system. I'd like to address safety, and first want to start off with emphasizing that safety is at the forefront of everything that we do, and this is our top priority as a company. Battery energy storage systems are safe when they're properly designed, installed, tested, and maintained. There are over 20,000 battery enclosures like this currently operating safely across the United States, and there have been no injuries to the general public at any U.S. operating battery project. Some of the features that go into our safety for a project like this are: one, the technology that we're using will meet or exceed all national fire safety and electrical codes and standards. In fact, our project is committed to designing our project according to NFPA 855, which is considered the gold standard for designing, constructing, and operating battery projects like this. Additionally, our project will be built with the latest technological advancements, including plans to use lithium iron phosphate, which is known as the safest type of lithium-ion technology in the market today. Additionally, our projects will be designed with self-containment. There will be state-of-the-art protection and control features. As I mentioned, we'll have 24/7 monitoring and automatic shutdown should there be any abnormality detected in the system. And lastly, I want to highlight that we are committed to training and best practices. In fact, we have already started meeting with the fire department, and we are real appreciative for Chief Murek to be here this evening, and we've also met with Assistant Chief Chakes, and we're committed to working with them in a partnership and ensuring that as we advance this project, it's in close communication and in close engagement with the fire department. All right, with respect to our project overview, and I know Greg touched on a few of these, but we are proud to be working with Greg and Elizabeth on having our battery project located within the City of Two Rivers Industrial Park. As you can see on the map here, the black boundary represents the approximate 10-acre parcel where we would be having our battery enclosures. And then additionally, the project would have a overhead transmission line, which is shown in the yellow dots, which would go down to the Shoto substation, which is where the project will be interconnecting to the transmission grid. Our project is 150 megawatts in size, as I mentioned, approximately 10 acres, and would be located in the industrially zoned industrial park. Right, from a timeline perspective, I wanted to highlight a few key aspects of our timeline going forward. Here in the first quarter, land use permitting is going to be a very big focus for our team, and in particular, as Greg mentioned, we are going to be seeking a conditional use permit for this project, and so we look forward to having that considered before you here, potentially as early as March of this year. And want to emphasize that if this project were to be approved by you, that would then allow us to take additional steps to get a project like this ready for construction. And so if approved, we would then be looking at later this year to do more advanced engineering and permitting for the project. We would, in the fourth quarter of this year, then be looking at making a final technology selection. And then that would allow us to make the preparations to start construction sometime in the third quarter of next year. And it's an approximate 12-month construction period. So that means we would be looking to have the project operational sometime in 2026. All right, lastly, I just wanted to summarize some of the local benefits from this project. This project would represent an approximate $250 million investment in the local economy. We believe this project would continue Two Rivers' tradition of providing reliable power for Wisconsin. The project will increase local property tax revenue. It will create approximately 75 well-paying construction jobs. The project will strengthen existing electrical infrastructure in the area, including grid resiliency and reliability, and helping avoid blackouts. Additionally, this project will help maximize the use and integration of renewable resources in the market. And this will provide for new capacity for new businesses, and also benefit local residences in terms of the capacity that this brings to the area. And this project would be able to meet approximately peak demand for about 10,000 or 100,000 homes when it's discharging. So want to, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you this evening. And I'm happy to take any questions that you all may have.
All right, if anyone has questions here on council, just raise your hand and we'll allow for him just to call on you, because he's going to be answering them.
Do you have any agreements with our electrical supplier, WPPI?
With the local electric supplier? WPPI. No, the project currently does not have any contracts in place with Wisconsin utilities. That will be something that we would be looking to put in place over the next year and a half before we would start construction. And so we are in discussions with various utilities throughout Wisconsin, and we continue to see very strong interest in projects like this. We see them coming out with what are called resource plans that kind of show what their future kind of capacity needs and resources will be. And we're continuing to see batteries part of those resource needs. But we do not have a contract in place as of today.
How long does one of these batteries last? Do you know?
Yeah, so we plan for a 20-year project life. So
really? For each battery?
Yeah, so we anticipate a 20-year project life. We do anticipate that there will be some degradation that will occur as the batteries operate. And so there is what will be planned augmentation for our project, where every several years we plan to come out and add some additional batteries onto the site that will help offset some of that degradation. And so based on the initial batteries that are being installed, as well as that augmentation plan, we anticipate a 20-year life for the project.
I got a couple questions. I'm going to follow up to Bonnie's though. So once that 20-year life is over, do you install new batteries, or is the project pretty much commenced? Is like the site going to be commenced? You know, like sometimes we take nuclear plants like we're seeing up in Kewanee, shut down, and is that kind of what you mean by the life of the project?
Yeah, I would say the life would be for the kind of the initial, installation that we have planned here. Now, 20 years from now, it is possible that there could be an opportunity to potentially what we call like repower, where we could, essentially come and reinstall, the latest batteries in the market to continue, having this be an energy facility in the market. And I think, we definitely would, like to see, potential future opportunities like that, but that's not something that's part of our, I'll call it base case plans. And then in the event that the project, were to not extend beyond 20 years, one of the things that we're committed to in our application is having a decommissioning plan as part of our project. And we are also committed that before we would start construction, we would have decommissioning security that would be put in place so that from the city's perspective, that at the end of the useful life, if we were to not fulfill our obligations, which we intend to, there would be a security set aside to ensure that the site is fully decommissioned.
Okay. So a couple of my other questions, and I know I talked to you earlier too, but I just want to let the public know of those questions as well. Do you foresee people actually being on site on kind of a daily basis to do maintenance, to monitor? I know you got the 24/7 monitoring that's tied up to your system without anyone having to be there, but will there be a presence of someone or multiple people looking at this project on somewhat of a daily basis?
Yes, we do anticipate that on a very consistent basis, there will be operational staff on site. And a big part of that will be just continuing to do routine maintenance and checks to ensure that the system is operating properly.
Yep, so you're not just setting this here and 20 years later coming to pick it up. It's not gonna be like that.
No, it's going to be, yeah, very, very hands-on. And again, we're making a $250 million investment, and we want to make sure that we're taking, good care of it, and that everything continues to operate, well and in a safe manner. So there's going to certainly be a lot of team members that are involved to ensure that happens.
And two other questions I had yet, and then I know this one I asked you as well. Each one of those cells or units have a HVAC system to both heat and cool. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then, we don't expect a lot of noise adjacent with those units when they're operational.
That's correct. It
Okay.
would be the main source of noise would be the HVAC units. So it'd be very similar to any kind of commercial HVAC system. The project will also have its substation, which for us is going to be kind of tucked in the back based on our layout. But again, it'll be similar to any, existing operating substation. And our team has looked at the noise ordinance requirements, and we feel very confident that we will be below those in terms of how we're designing this project.
Okay. Then my last one just has to do with the border or wall or fencing, whatever you're going to use. Is that pretty secure that somebody just can't drive a car up to it, through it? You name it. Is it going to be pretty secure that people just can't access that stuff pretty freely?
Yes, we will have a secure perimeter fence. I think what you'll see in our application, what we're currently proposing, would be a chain link fence with barbed wire on top. And we also have looked at putting some slatting along Woodland Drive to help from an aesthetic perspective. And so I think we believe that that's sufficient and is in line with how most of these projects are built from a security and from a fence perspective, but also want to reiterate that we're committed to working with you and making sure, you feel comfortable with what we're doing from a security perspective on the project.
Perfect. I just wanted the community here to hear some of the questions that I had asked you so that they can hear the same answers.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
If I could too, just to add to that, this will be in front of Plan Commission. Not everything is finalized by any means, but the discussions to date, I've got to say our fire personnel, command personnel, we're very impressed with the discussions that have occurred so far and the commitment, because a safety plan, emergency response plan, vitally important. Decommissioning, we've already touched on, and that includes not only a decommissioning study with an estimated cost of removing everything and returning the land to productive other uses, but making sure, as was referenced in the presentation, there's appropriate surety for that. So there's a bond or an instrument that the city has confidence in that makes sure the bills get paid for that decommissioning. And typically those decommissioning plans are updated about every 5 years because market conditions and costs change. NFPA 855, as I understand, has not yet been adopted by the state of Wisconsin, but we fully anticipate it would be referenced as the gold standard. Again, you hear about National Fire Protection Association. You heard about it last week when council discussed buying a new fire truck that meets specs. That's obviously well-respected national entity that establishes those criteria. So watch for more of that. The other thing we've had just to share very preliminary discussion. We don't have in-house expertise in battery energy storage systems on City of Two Rivers staff. So there will likely be the need to engage our own engineering support for both plan review and review of what gets built in the field. And we anticipate addressing that with the developer and expect that reasonable costs for such could be borne by the project. In addition to Plan Commission, the project will go before the Community Development Authority and BIDC as they enforce or approve any waivers to the covenant set at the industrial park. But Tenaska has been super to work with thus far and have answered our questions to our satisfaction. I'd just speak to it a little more. We've always taken a lot of pride in the role this area, and a lot of people who live in Two Rivers have played in powering Wisconsin, working out at the Point Beach nuclear plant. We really miss the Kewaunee nuclear plant, which that was humming and supplying energy. But between the nuclear plant, the investments in solar, which are significant just to our north, This fits with the history of a community that's played a big role in Wisconsin's energy past, present, and future. So look forward to bringing this back for more discussion, and thank the Tenaska folks and a lot of neighbors from the industrial park and around the park and the community. It wasn't all about mini storage tonight. It was a lot, but I'm glad we were able to see this shared with a large live audience. And this presentation, we will, in addition to, you can always go look at our meetings online after the fact, but we'll be highlighting this presentation for folks that have a specific interest. So
Speaking of fire, I do believe on one of those boards in back, if you were here earlier before our meeting started, it did speak to fire, and it does not require any special fire equipment. It will require special training, of which it sounds like Tenaska is going to be on the hook for helping our fire department train for that. But it doesn't require any special equipment that the city will have to go out and buy should anything happen to this structure or battery area.
And battery storage is a coming thing. It's Wisconsin utility owned, but not too far down the road in Sheboygan, Alliant has gotten local zoning approval for their Edgewater project, 100 megawatts, I think 400 megawatt hours on the site of the soon to be decommissioned Edgewater coal plant, still very much in the heart of the community, a lot closer to more residential areas and schools than our Woodland Industrial Park, which is made for industrial, made for utility type uses, and at the edge of town. So watch for more on this. And again, thank you to the Tenaska team. I expect if folks from the audience have any further questions, they can be available quietly down the hall outside the meeting. Thank you.